AM 1360, 610, 1240, and 1470. The Talk of Connecticut.
Leonard Raskin is a personal finance expert, and the reason that I wanted to talk to him is because there are stories out now about a savings shortage. 7 in 10 Americans have less than $1,000 in the bank. Leonard, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm busy, and I'm sure you are. And I'm sure you are too. Are these facts true that 7 in 10 Americans have less than $1,000 in the bank?
Well, I think the stats are true, and what it's talking about is that they don't have $1,000 in a savings account. I don't know that it's true necessarily that they don't have $1,000 somewhere else. They may have them in treasury bills or bonds. They may have it in cash value sitting in life insurance policies. They may have it in equity in their homes, but people aren't putting money in the banks for a couple reasons. First of which is the banks aren't paying them anything to put it there.
You know, you are the first one, Leonard. The first one that has said this on the program. They've mentioned the banks, that people aren't putting money in the banks, but you're saying, and I'm glad that you said it, can that be changed? Do we have any influence to change that?
Well, we could. Certainly, we have a lot of money out there in the system, and we could potentially see a rate increase. That wouldn't hurt savers, but everybody's afraid of what that'll do relative to the debt and what that'll do relative to people's borrowing. And we've got 38% of the country sitting with credit card debts with an average balance of about $5,800, and they're already paying a fortune on that debt. So higher interest rates, on the one hand, for savers feels good, but on the other hand, for borrowers and homeowners and everybody trying to get loans, not so much.
So what do we have to do, Leonard? What do we have to do to change this?
Well,
how much do we have to save?
Well, I think the rule that we look at with our clients is we talk about putting away 15% of your gross income per year. And clearly people aren't doing that. And I think the big reason for that is twofold. I think number one is people don't have a budget. It doesn't matter how much you make, $20,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $2 million a year, what percentage of the population you fall into. You got to have a budget. You got to know where the money is going. If you don't know where it's going, it's hard to know how much you can save, and it's hard to commit that savings. I think the second thing that has to happen is, or that has happened is, we don't spend dollars anymore. You know, we spend it on the credit card. It's not really that hard to do. We don't take the dollar out of our wallet and feel it that much anymore. And these days, not only that, but millennials and some of the rest of us, we can walk up to a terminal with our phone, tap our phone, and there we've spent some money. And so we're losing track of where it's going, and we're not feeling the pain of spending it at all. I think we got to understand what we're spending. That's most important.
Can we convince the majority to do just what you are saying? Because the way this has been presented, and you're the first one, as I said, that I have talked with, and I haven't talked with anybody else about this, but you're the first one that has mentioned the banks. And that could be one of the reasons that there's not more than $1,000 being saved by individuals, because they don't get anything in return from the banks. I'm surprised other folks are not saying this.
It's kind of amazing, but the banks, you know, the banks, you got to think about it, the banks borrow money to then turn around and lend that money. So their balance sheet's the opposite of ours as a consumer. And so they borrow from depositors, but they also have the ability to borrow from the Fed, and they're being charged nothing. So they turn around and take that money for nothing, and they say, well, we don't have to pay you anymore because we can get it somewhere else.
Wow.
Just as cheaply. So easy money makes for low savings, and low savings, then people don't put their money there. But hopefully they're putting it somewhere, and we're certainly seeing people put it elsewhere. But you have to have that liquid cash in case something happens. Otherwise, what you do is you use a credit card. You don't pay that off. You pay 15, 18, 20% to that same bank that's paying you nothing.
Leonard, I'm glad that I had a chance to talk with you this morning, and that my audience had a chance to hear you, because I know that this is not the way it has been presented. You're the first one to do that. But you're saying that we should save at least 15% of what we get paid to to bank. Well, I use that word, but to save.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to be a world-class saver and then figure out where that money should be allocated. It's most important that you put it away. No question.
Somewhere.
Absolutely.
Well, Leonard, I'm glad that I talked with you because this, and you probably have heard some of these reports too, and I don't know, I know that I haven't been told that, but you're the first one to say it, and I know that my listeners appreciate it. I can speak for them when it comes to this kind of savings, and again, 15% is what we should save when we get our paycheck.
Absolutely. And if you can't do it all at once, start now, and every time you get a raise, every time you earn a little more, save a bigger percentage of more. Ultimately, you'll get to the 15% of gross.
Leonard Raskin, personal finance expert, CEO of Raskin Global. By the way, do you have a website?
We do. It's raskinglobal.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/RaskinGlobal.
RaskinGlobal.com is your website if any of my listeners want to get to you.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. Leonard, thanks a million for being with me.